Why demons get bad PR. Demons have terrible agents, seriously. Somewhere between the Old Testament, medieval witch hunters, and Hollywood screenwriters who've never opened a book older than The Exorcist, demons got turned into one-note villains. The supernatural equivalent of bad Tinder dates. Predictable, toxic, and obsessed with your soul. But history is rarely that clean. The word demon itself comes from the ancient Greek daemon, meaning spirit or divine power. Back then, a demon could be a helpful guide, a trickster, or just some cosmic bureaucrat doing paperwork in the afterlife. Not exactly the horned, sulfur-scented monster you're picturing. Still, once organized religion decided that every spirit not wearing heaven's official merch was the enemy, the nuance died. And like any long-running smear campaign, the public forgot the truth. So today, we're digging into 5 of the most misunderstood demons in history, the ones whose reputations were trashed, whose press coverage was pure propaganda, and whose evil might just be complicated. Fair warning, this isn't Sunday school. We're going unfiltered, historically brutal, and darkly funny. If you came here for gentle bedtime angels, you took a wrong turn at skip ad. The demon who just wanted to be a weatherman. If you've seen The Exorcist, you know Pazuzu as the big bad. The statue with the gaping mouth, claws, and a body that looks like it was designed by a drunk taxidermist. But here's the plot twist. In ancient Mesopotamia, Pazuzu was a protector. Yes, he was the demon of the southwest wind, which could bring famine and plague. That sounds bad. But here's the PR miracle. People actually prayed to Pazuzu to keep other, worse demons away, especially Lamashtu, a baby-snatching, nightmare-fueling goddess who made Herod look like a babysitter of the year. Mothers would hang Pazuzu amulets over their children's cradles, basically ancient baby monitors with extra teeth. His terrifying face? That was the point. It wasn't to scare you. It was to scare what wanted to kill you. Think of him as that grumpy old neighbor who yells at everyone on the street, but also scares off the burglars. So how did we go from guardian against evil to possessing little girls in pea soup vomit scenes? Simple. By the time Christianity got around to writing the villain list, nuance was gone. If you had fangs and wings, congratulations. You were now working for hell. Pazuzu didn't stand a chance. Lilith, the original problematic woman. If hell had a feminist icon, it'd be Lilith. And the smear campaign against her is the oldest example of men can't handle rejection in literature. In early Jewish folklore, Lilith wasn't a demon at all. She was Adam's first wife in some versions of Genesis, made from the same dirt, equal in every way, which was apparently a problem. Because when Adam tried to, take the top bunk in bed every time, Lilith said no. And when he insisted, she said something that shook the Eden power structure. I am not lying beneath you. This was the ancient equivalent of quitting the group chat. She left the Garden of Eden and refused to return. God sent angels to drag her back. She told them where they could shove their divine subpoenas. Only after she refused to submit did she get recast as a baby-killing night demon. For centuries, rabbis and scribes told stories of Lilith sneaking into homes to harm infants or seduce men in their sleep. Medieval parents even wore amulets to ward her off. But read between the lines, and it's clear. She wasn't evil because she killed kids. She was evil because she didn't obey the man she was told to obey. Lilith became the cautionary tale for women who didn't play nice in patriarchal systems. A demon not born, but manufactured. And let's be honest, in a world that fears women who say no, she never had a chance at a fair trial. 3. Asmodeus, the demon of lust who might just be a hopeless romantic. Asmodeus is basically history's version of that guy your parents warned you about. Charming, dangerous, and will absolutely ruin your life if you're not careful. In the Book of Tobit, a text booted out of most Protestant Bibles, but still hanging around Catholic ones, he's the demon who kills the first 7 husbands of a woman named Sarah on their wedding night. Cue the scary music, right? 7 dead grooms. A demonic body count that sounds like a Netflix true crime series. But here's where it gets weird. Some versions suggest Asmodeus was killing them because he was in love with Sarah. Yep, it's a deranged, blood-soaked love triangle. He didn't want to share her, so murder. And while that's still deeply, murderously wrong, It paints a very different picture than pure evil for fun. Asmodeus was more obsessive stalker than apocalyptic destroyer. He even has moments in other traditions where he's not all bad. In some Talmudic stories, he's weirdly lawful, hates lying, and once even helped King Solomon build the temple before stealing his ring and trying to take over the kingdom because, well, demon. The truth, Asmodeus wasn't evil in the burn the world sense. He was evil in the I will ruin your life in the name of love sense, which honestly makes him less Satan, more toxic ex-boyfriend with supernatural powers. If Pazuzu was a grumpy security guard and Lilith was the first feminist, Asmodeus is that one friend who makes every bad decision feel like an adventure, until you realize your wallet's missing and the cops are at the door. 4. Belphegor, the demon who just wanted you to chill. When people hear demon, they think violence, chaos, hellfire. Belphegor, he's the demon of sloth. His big evil plan, convince you to do absolutely nothing. Which, in today's burnout culture, honestly sounds like self-care. Belphegor pops up in Christian demonology as a tempter who gets people to waste their lives in laziness or indulgence. But the older myth is more interesting. In some stories, he's a Moabite god named Baal Peor, associated with open spaces, caves, and, weirdly, toilets. Yes, you heard me right, toilets. His name even loosely connects to the idea of opening or gaping, which medieval demonologists twisted into something disgusting and sinful. Over time, he went from chill earth spirit to lazy devil, whispering in your ear to skip work and watch Netflix. But here's the kicker. Belphegor was also considered a demon of invention. Supposedly, he'd give you brilliant ideas for machines and tools, but only if you were patient enough to wait for inspiration. That's right, the so-called demon of sloth might have been the original patron saint of procrastinating creatives. The misunderstanding? People mistook rest for evil. They took a figure who rewarded slow, deliberate thought and turned him into a poster child for moral decay. In other words, Belphegor is what happens when you take treat yourself and call it a sin. 5. Buer, the demon who's basically a hellish guidance counselor. Buer doesn't get much screen time in horror movies, probably because he looks ridiculous. We're talking a lion's head with a ring of goat legs sticking out like a demonic fidget spinner. It's nightmare fuel, but also kind of cartoonish, like if a medieval scribe tried to draw a centaur from memory after too much wine. But behind that absurd exterior, Buer is actually one of the most helpful demons in the old grimoires. According to the 16th century Pseudomonarchia Demonum and the Ars Goetia, Buer teaches philosophy, ethics, logic, and the virtues of all herbs and plants. He's also said to heal diseases and give good advice about morality, which is not what you'd expect from a creature with more knees than should legally exist. In short, he's the demon of self-improvement, the life coach from hell. The problem is medieval Christianity couldn't handle the idea of a spirit outside the church giving moral guidance. So Buer got lumped into the evil pile, even though his resume reads like a wellness retreat brochure. Imagine calling your therapist a demon because he doesn't work for your religion's HR department. That's the energy here. So yes, Buer looks like a meat pinwheel from the abyss, but the dude's job description is basically teach you how to think clearly, keep you healthy, stop you from being a jerk. If that's evil, I guess Whole Foods is a gateway to hell. Closing thoughts. Why we keep getting demons wrong. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Demon has always been less about what a being is and more about who's telling the story. A demon in one culture is a god in another. A protector in one era becomes a villain in the next. Pazuzu, Lilith, Asmodeus, Belphegor, Buer, none of them fit neatly into the cartoonish evil incarnate box. They're complicated, morally gray, sometimes dangerous, sometimes protective. In other words, they're a lot like us, and maybe that's why history keeps flattening them into one-dimensional villains. Because it's easier to point at something ugly and say, that's evil, than admit that evil can look like your neighbor, your friend, or your own reflection. But here's the kicker. The real demons aren't the misunderstood spirits in old texts. The real demons are bad storytelling, lazy history, and our collective need to simplify the world into good guys and bad guys. In the end, the most dangerous monsters are the ones we invent. If this trip through history's misunderstood demons made you question everything you thought you knew about evil, then you're already in too deep. Hit that subscribe button before something in the shadows notices you're unprotected, and drop a comment telling me which demon you'd trust with your life or your soul.